here this whole time? Was she behind us all along? What happened? Was she behind us? Was he here?
Quiet, please. Please.
Hey guys, welcome back to another one of my Runaways Season 2 videos. Just like the first one, on this video I'll be reviewing and discussing the Easter eggs and references from another chunk of episodes of the new season. Now I understand that the expectation over here is that I'll be jumping right into episode 4, considering I've already covered episodes 1, 2, and 3, but however I need to jump back to the premiere for a moment, and I promise you're going to at least like one or two of these 3 points that I'm about to make over here. Number 1, I apologize for that confusion with Livy's name. Now obviously I did mishear it and it does happen, but suffice to say I was partially right, she did end up with the Runaways at some point, kinda joining them in a way. But number 2, we've got ourselves an AOS Runaways crossover on the premiere. It was pretty subtle, almost unnoticeable. Some cynics would say it was not even one, but the actress portraying the role of that WHIH reporter, she's the same actress they used on episode 8 of season 4 of AOS to portray the role of a CNB reporter. So while it might not be the biggest crossover that everyone is hoping for, you know, big names, big actors, big actresses and all of that stuff, but it is still proof that it is all connected, and it is the cost-effective option if you think about it. It doesn't require logistical nightmares in the moving of people and schedules around. The credit on this one though does not go to me, but rather to Mr. Crazy Lacy 37, a commenter on my most recent Runaways video. But number 3 is Bobo. Now the name Bobo, it's seen on a sticker on the back of a road sign on the premiere. In the comics, Bobo happens to be brother to none other than that one character that everyone has been speculating since the release of Black Panther 1 that he's going to be making it on Black Panther 2. That would be Namor, the Submariner. But moving on though to episode 4 and number 4, right off the bat and at the very beginning of the episode, we get a Get Smart reference.
You gotta give me the name of your decorator because this place is dope as shit.
Cone of silence.
Number 5, the Pride parents over here happen to be quite the deviation from the comic books. On the pages of the comic books they might still love their kids, but they are still pretty irredeemable. So over there they are Pride all the way, and they are pretty much loyal supporters of the Gibborim and to the very end. Number 6, might have missed mentioning this one on my first review video, but the endless smart talk by Gertrude, that is very comic book-like, and that includes her condescending and sarcastic moments. Now both of these traits of hers does get her relationship with Chase over the pages of the comics into a lot of turbulent zones as well. But moving on to number 7, TOPHER is quite the charismatic character on the series, and he is the same thing in the comics, very charismatic. It's part of his nature, and it is part of what is needed for his character to develop. But on the series though, he's not really everything that he is in the comics, because number 8, in the comics, TOPHER is a vampire. Now, in a way, the character of TOPHER on the series did resemble his comic book origin as a vampire. You've probably watched enough vampire movies to know and realize that since the moment they become vampires, they don't really age. That does happen to apply to him on the series as well. I mean, since he got his powers, he has not aged a single day. Number 9, another comic book parallel when it comes to TOPHER is all about his attempt at playing everyone. In the comics, it's all about Karolina and Nico instead of Molly and Nico on the series. We've got a couple of moments on this episode that kind of match his behavior in the comics. We've got the way that he keeps flattering Nico and repeatedly. That's pretty much comic book-like. He tried to pursue a relationship with her. But more importantly, there was the moment that he leaned in, trying to kiss her. That's pretty reminiscent of a similar moment in the comics, except over there, the kiss actually happened. And Nico, following that moment, felt a lot of guilt over it because she was in a relationship with Alex. But number 10, this is just an interesting bit, but I found it funny that out of everything they could have done with TOPHER, they chose to make him like Molly. TOPHER on the series is not really TOPHER from the comics, not a vampire, but instead a character modeled after Molly on the series. And on the other hand, Molly is not exactly Molly from the comics, because in the comics, Molly happened to be a mutant. I guess I did find it interesting because they just decided to remodel a character away from his comic book origin in order to fit the series, and in doing so they did it after a character that has already been remodeled. Number 11, we get a Grady Daughters reference from The Shining on episode 5. I did love the timing of the reference because that was very well utilized in foreshadowing the death of TOPHER by the end of the episode. The body count on this season though, that's pretty insane. But moving on though to number 12, For many moments there, Karolina was starting to resemble Alex in the comics. Now Alex in the comics did betray his friends in favor of his parents, and Karolina over here kinda did the same, only in favor of one of the two parents, which happens to be her alien father. Number 13, the use of the phrases gravitational waves, Jonah's ship has an anti-gravity engine, and gravitational wave space drive. Those got me all crazy and freaking out because all I could think about at that moment or at those multiple moments in which those words were said happened to be one thing. The very thing that we all know is currently powering the Zephyr to be its own spaceship, Gravitonium. Number 14. On episode 6 we get a shout out to all the MMORPGs out there, ones like World of Warcraft and Rift.
I was gonna ask your advice on something.
Yeah, sure. Because I'm just the NPC in the MMORPG of your lives.
But number 15, Alex referring to himself as an NPC, which is an acronym for non-player character in these games. I thought that might be a reference to how he's not really the best team player on the series, but possibly as well to how he's the worst team player on the pages of the comics, you know, betraying his friends and all. NPCs in these games, and by definition, non-player characters do not really help you. I mean, these games are based on team playing, but these ones are not really part of the team. They are actually, more often than not, out there to get you and kill your character. But moving on though to the beginning of the 7th episode and number 16, we get a look into the origins of Leslie's relationship with Jonah. There isn't much really to that scene. I mean, her father is on his deathbed, he's being kind to her and all of that, and you can imagine what happened later on. But there is, however, this one little piece of detail that I did really admire on this scene, how they managed to find an actress to play the role of a younger Leslie with the perfect amount of freckles to make it feel like we're watching the same actress, but only a younger version of her. Number 17, still on the same episode, and we get a How to Train Your Dragon 2 name drop, a movie made by the competition of Disney, DreamWorks that is, but also distributed by the recently acquired competition, 20th Century Fox. Number 18, really loved that entire setup for the mission the Runaways went on, along with Jeffrey Wilder. I think it was so good seeing them very well organized, or relatively very well organized, not winging it anymore, like they are actually working in harmony, so it just started feeling like this team was coming full circle. Number 19, Jonah's ship on this episode. That was very reminiscent of the marine vivarium from the comics. Now I'm not really sure if it's vivarium or vivarium, I've only read the name, never heard it being said, but nonetheless that's pretty much the deep undersea location used by the Gibborim in the comics in order to hold their meetings and accept offerings from the Pride. Number 20, a second Gonzales down, this time it's Destiny's brother, and the body count on the season keeps growing. But Frank Dean though, he's the one that's slowly growing into a villain on the series. I mean, out of all people, he's becoming the worst as of episode 6.
XAVIN, can you hear me?
XAVIN, who's XAVIN?
Don't know. Don't want to know.
Initiate the launch now. We'll service the ship when it reaches the surface.
Number 21. So even though we are yet to meet XAVIN, because, well, I haven't watched past episode 9, so I haven't met him yet in case we meet him this season, XAVIN is a name that I've been waiting to hear on the series because he's pretty integral to the Runaways comics. So what XAVIN is in the comics is a super Skrull who ends up wedding Karolina Dean. The story when it comes to XAVIN is pretty lengthy, but suffice to say he's supposed to be more of a hero than a villain, and that he does at some point join the Runaways. Now I'm not sure they will ever work him out to be a Skrull of any kind of the series, or even a Runaway, but here's to hoping that happens on Season 3 and once the Skrulls are introduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe by Captain Marvel. But number 22 is one of my favorite references on the series this season so far. That would be the Toy Story reference, voice and all.
At least Karolina kicks ass at flying.
I wouldn't say flying exactly, more like falling style.
Buzz Lightyear. I love Buzz.
That wasn't flying. That was falling with style.
Number 23, another name drop, this time for the Wicked Witch of the West, the antagonist in the Wonderful Wizard of Oz novel. Interestingly enough though, Alex was using that to describe Nico, who is so far nowhere close to being the antagonist in this story. Number 24, the showdown with Jonah at the end of episode 7 with his ship imploding. That was a pretty decent scene. I mean, it was an early win and not a real win as well, but nonetheless it felt like a win. But with this being the 7th episode, it obviously was nothing final, especially with Jonah supposedly dying, yet seemingly promising.
Now we're gonna have to take it all.
But moving on to episode 8 and number 25, the many bodies of this alien at the very beginning of this episode, that actually revealed a lot of things. It did reveal that 1. Jonah was actually the name of the doctor whose body the alien hosted. 2. The promise Jonah made at the end of episode 7 meant something and was gonna culminate into something. And finally 3. Set up to explain how Jonah would live on beyond the body of the original Jonah. So at this point we sort of know that he's around, but we just do not know which host he's occupying. But number 26, Livy is on a mission to clear her late brother-in-law's name. The way this girl just resurfaces, I mean, at first I thought it could be anything. It could just be the writers trying to drag the story, spicing it up with this element, but instead it happens to be her way into teaming up with the Runaways, affiliating with them in a way, which doesn't really make her into the person I thought she would be, based on me hearing her name wrong in the first place, but nonetheless close enough. But moving on to number 27, we get another connection to the rest of the MCU in that big banner on that hotel. So Roxxon Energy. Roxxon has been front and center so many times now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, from Agent Carter to Iron Man to Cloak and Dagger. But perhaps the most important connection to make over here happens to be the one to C&D, because the 2 lead characters of that story happen to have been members of the Runaways at some point in the comics. The next question over here would be, do you see a crossover in the future? Well, the answer would be maybe, not sure, but hopefully though. I mean, never say never, nothing is impossible. But finally though, number 28, in the lobby of the hotel with the Roxxon banner on the outside, we see the sign legal. Now if you know me, I'm not usually one to consider simple English words as Easter eggs, but this one, the way it was written, like it was an abbreviation, it gets your attention as highlighted to mean something. But in full honesty though, I'm gonna be presenting 2 possible scenarios over here. It could be one of 2 things. It is either part of the art of the location in which they filmed this entire sequence, they just didn't bother to take it off, or it could be an Easter egg to Legal, Tony Stark's attorney from the 616 continuity. I mean, we've got the Roxxon sign on the outside, and we've got Legal on the inside. It just goes so well with the Iron Man movies, and a little bit with the comics as well. But moving on though, this was the end of my review and Easter egg video for episodes 4 through 8 of Runaways Season 2. So let me know in the comments if there are any Easter eggs I've missed on these episodes, let me know if you like the series so far or the season so far, and let me know if there is anything you want me to discuss on my next video, the final video I'm going to be posting for this season. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and enable notifications for my future videos, community posts, and live streams. Until the next time you tune in though for another one of my videos, thank you so much for tuning into this one, and have a great day.